welcome back to episode 6, I believe, of Knights of the Dawn podcast. You guys should be very proud of us. We are recording for the second week in a row.
That is a record right there.
For sure. And so, but we will try to keep up with this pattern for the entire summer. We will do our darndest. And so today, a little break from our regularly scheduled programming. Instead of moving on to Book 2 of Fablehaven and doing Rise of the Evening Star, we are going to be doing a review of the newest book from Brandon Mull, Candy Shop War 3, Carnival Quest.
Yes, and this will be a spoiler review, so
if
you haven't read it, don't listen to this.
So I am Jessica.
I'm Megan.
All right, and let's dive into it. So this book came out 2 months ago?
Back in...
was it March?
March? Was it February?
It was one of those two.
I don't remember.
It was
March. It was March.
It was March?
It was March, yeah.
Okay, so
it was like middle of March.
Okay. No, yeah, that does sound right.
Yeah.
And Megan and I were actually so lucky as to go to the
the book signings.
Yeah, the book signings that he had. Kind of like a little mini book launch because he did like a little Q&A as well. Mm-hmm. It was really cool.
It was cool.
Yeah. We got one of my questions answered about future projects from Brandon Mull. Maybe we'll talk about that in the end, but it was really cool. So we got to get our book signed by him and also tell him about our podcast, which was really, really cool.
So yeah, this is the newest book, first book in like year and a half that he's come out with, and the end of one of like his oldest trilogy, basically.
Yeah, his oldest trilogy.
Because this book, let's see, Candy Shop War, book 1.
I think that was his second book.
Was it his second or third?
It came out.
It was right around either after the first Fablehaven or the second Fablehaven. Like it was super early.
This one definitely has spanned the longest timeline. It has taken so long. I think it's funny though because it was not supposed to be a trilogy.
No,
he
did talk about that at the book signing.
Candy Shop was supposed to be a standalone, one and done. That's it. But then everybody was like, no, we want a second one.
Like,
we
what
want
happens
more.
next?
And he was like, well, fine. Writes a second one. No, we still want more. Well, fine. Now there's a third white sibling.
He's like, this is the end of the trilogy.
It's done.
Yeah, book 1 came out September 11th, 2007. 2007.
That's long. When was Fablehaven 1?
Let me look. Let me just pull up like Brandon Mull's wiki or something because I was just Googling.
List of Brandon Mull books with
Brandon
timeline.
Mull.
Because honestly, 2007, it has been over 15 years.
I was in second grade.
Over 15 years. Trooper.
Wow.
What a trooper.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fablehaven book 1 came out June 2006. Rise of the Evening Star, May 2007. And so then...
This one. So this was his third... This
is his third book.
Which I really liked that one. I remember when I finally realized that, the first Candy Shop War was, written by the same guy who was doing the Fablehavens. Because, when you're a kid, you don't really realize, who's writing things.
That's true.
I remember I did the same thing with, Rick Riordan. I, read the first bit of the first Percy Jackson, and I got scared because I was like, oh, no, creepy thing in the hallways with, clip flopping. I hate it. No. And so I said, no, I'm not going to read that because I was too scared because I was too young. But then I started reading...
8.
Yeah, something like that. And then I started reading The Red Pyramid. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And my older sister was like, it's the same thing.
She's like, come on, Jessica,
it's the same author, same premise.
Yeah.
With living mythology.
Mythology,
Oh, now I love Percy Jackson so
interesting.
So it was just fun. So same thing happened here. I didn't realize that Candy Shop War and then Fablehaven and then 5 Kingdoms as well. And a little bit of Beyonders, but I never really got into that as a kid. I never connected those.
That they were the same author.
That they were the same.
Yeah, I remember I was reading Fablehaven and then I had heard of Candy Shop War, but I never read it. I didn't read it until I was in 5th grade or 6th grade. It took me a couple years, and I was like, oh, wait, this is kind of good. I kind of like this.
I think what it came down to is that they were, different places on my bookshelf. Literally the Candy Shop War, we had 2 bookshelves.
Yeah.
We had the, the little kid book bookshelf that was in my room. It had, all, the picture books, the Dr. Seuss books, all that stuff. And Candy Shop War was on that one, just because ours was a paperback, and it was just, the standalone first book. Fablehaven, we got an all hardcover. We wanted to keep those nice. They
copy.
felt like it had It had the illustrations. It looked good. It felt like an older book. So it was on, like, the higher tier. It was in the big kid bookshelf.
You had to graduate
I had to graduate to that bookshelf. Yeah, and so, so that, like, it kept them separate in my mind. So when I realized they are one and the same, it made more sense.
You're like, oh, this is the same author.
What were your overall thoughts, like, not for this book, like, before this, like, what did you, like...
Like, what were my expectations?
Yeah, like, based on what you've had for, like, the other, like, what you liked from the other two books.
So I will premise this. Candy Shop War is not my favorite series. Mm-hmm. I like the first one a lot, and the second one is pretty good. I would say the first one is my...
Top tier.
Is my favorite out of all of them, even after reading the third one. But I was like, I'm ready for some magical candy and something to do with the other white sibling, like, because you got Belinda, Lindy, and then you have Jonas, and now you have Camilla. And then they mentioned Camilla at the end of the second one, and then I was like, oh, what's her shtick? Like, what is her theme of candy and magic? And so I didn't really, other than that, I was like, what's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had actually never read the second book until my freshman year when you told me that there was a second book.
That's funny.
I didn't even know it would exist. I thought it was just the first one. And then I was like, wait, there's a second one? And so I didn't read that one until I was in, like, 19. And I think that changed how I felt about it. Because nostalgia is the best flavor. Nostalgia is the best flavor. So when I read Candy Shop War #1, I'm still, like, I'm remembering, like, this, like, childish excitement of being like, oh my gosh, Nate just tricked her. And like just like going through that and like seeing, like, I can remember those feelings as like I saw the twists and I was like, oh my gosh. As a late teen, it's kind of hard to capture that same feeling when you're rereading a book that is still meant for like
younger
fourth graders.
Yeah, out of all of his books, Candy Shop War is definitely
geared towards
younger audiences, for sure.
But at the same time, I think it's still very near and dear to his heart because, like, while he was talking about Candy Shop War, he was like, I based this entire book off of his off of my childhood.
It's super interesting. Like, especially like the first one is like his like childhood town, his elementary school. Yeah. He just like changed like the name basically.
And like I can imagine like just like how much like nostalgia he must have had putting into that book. Like oh, I can incorporate this. Like, oh, I remember this. Let's put that in there.
That's like such a fun idea for like an author to like take like part of their childhood and be like, this is kind of what I wish, if magic were real. I wish I could have had some adventures, and stuff like that. Like, who doesn't do that? Like, when they're a kid, be like, oh, I'm going to go find some, like, adventures or something. And I think it's, like, a cool thing to, like, put, like, your childhood town in it, like, your elementary school, and then be like, yeah, this is what I would have done if I were, like, a kid who was, like, 12 and found magic candy. Like,
had moved to a new town just then. Like, I think he included all of that. And what was the town called? Dayton? It's something like that.
The fake one in here is Colson. And I think it's, like, even, like, the same area, like, Northern California, but just a different name. Yeah. Like, so, I think is what he said.
I think that's just really cool. Okay, now thoughts on the book itself.
On this book, I liked it. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't say that I loved it.
It was fun.
It was fun. Like, it was a fun ride. And I feel like because it's the Candy Shop War and it doesn't go as deep, there's, like, lore stuff I feel like you could delve deeper if it were one of the other series, but they just kind of be like, oh, yeah, there's a dreamland, there's a mirror realm, there's all this thing. Now go defeat the bad guy.
Like, there's definitely, a more, it's, like, a very much more cut and dry.
Yeah.
Where at the same time, like, you can, like, read into it and, like, oh, what if this happened? Like, what if, like, they would do, like, what if? But at the same time, it's like, no, this is
like if this were a different series, I'd want to like delve deeper into like these all these different new like magical places, but it's just you're just along for the ride in this book.
Yeah, but at the same time, I love how he like throws in like those deeper things. Yeah, like, because a kid's not gonna care. It's like, oh, mirror realm, cool. Oh, underworld, great. But we're like, oh, but what is the mechanics of this? How do they transport this entire like cavern system between like the cities?
It's like so interesting because it's like, man, I wish I could go to this carnival, like literally, like go like explore, like figure out all these
puzzles,
tests and puzzles,
riddles.
going deeper into the carnival that just keeps expanding and literally can be like living out like your dream. Like, it's a pretty cool
living
premise.
In your dreams.
Living in your dream, as long as you don't, get trapped by the villain in your dreams forever. But I don't know. What did you think?
A lot of the same things. For me, it was just kind of fun. I found myself kind of reading into it a lot more than I think. Like, I was expecting more, like, deep stuff that I've come to, like, expect from Brandon Mull. Because, like, I'm used to Dragon Watch. I'm used to Five Kingdoms. I'm used to Beyonders, which have darker elements.
And you go deeper into, like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
and so,
this
like,
different world is or whatever.
Yeah, I'm reading this, and I'm expecting, like, some of the darker, a little bit of the grittier, and then it's like, nope.
Like, no.
It's a lot, like, cleaner is almost the word, not even just for, like...
It's more innocent.
Innocent, yes. Yeah. And even, like, just, like, the plot-wise.
Which isn't, like, a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Like, it's fun.
Like, it's just a good read. Like, I don't really want to, like, think a lot right now. I just want a good book.
Yeah, you just, like, listen.
But at the same time, if you want to think, you can. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's a good book. It can be really whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like the Dreamland. Ooh.
The Dreamland. So, what is your new favorite candy in this book? Because there's
the four.
Yeah, there's the 4 new ones.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read. Like, it has the list of the newest candies that are kind of given the focal point.
Yeah.
So we have Cannon Blast, where you literally become a human cannonball. You just get to, like, kind of shoot and, like, be indestructible for, like, a few seconds. Mm-hmm. Drip Drop Licorice, go from a solid to a liquid in a snap. Clown Lips, pucker up for some cartoon fun.
Turns you into a clown.
Yep. Statue Sticks, turn into a living, moving statue, basically a statue of whatever you're holding in your hand. So, like, in one hand, you bite the stick, and if, like, you're holding granite, you turn into granite, you turn into, like, diamond, you turn into a diamond, basically whatever that. Of these 4... For usefulness in this book, I would go for Clown Lips.
Yes.
Definitely Clown Lips.
Even though...
I don't want to be
It sounds
like
a nightmare for me.
It sounds like I'm not...
like, turning into a clown, but...
As long as I'm the clown, I don't care.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and Summer does use it very usefully. Like,
I love how everybody's terrified. Like, crap, she's a clown!
Yeah, well, she can, like, take as much damage as she wants. She, like, can pull out, like, a baton, like a clown. Just, like, pulls things out. Yeah. And just, like, she can take a beating and deal a beating.
But, if I went for the one I would most likely want, though, Drip Drop Licorice.
That's what I was thinking. I feel like it would be useful to, like, use that. Yeah. So, if I had some, like, hard rocks, I guess, statue sticks would be useful in some things. Cannon Blast could be fun if you, like, need to get places.
And Nate uses them to great effect.
He uses it really well.
But it's just... It's more of a vulnerable, like, you get one shot.
Yeah.
If you miss, you lose time putting it back in. Whereas the Clown Lips, you put them on, you're a wrecking ball for sure.
So, they each have their uses, but the most useful, probably the Clown Lips.
Mm-hmm. And as long as I'm the clown, I don't really care.
That's true.
If you're the clown and I'm the one running for you, I'm terrified. Okay, I'm not hugely scared of clowns.
Okay.
I don't mind them.
Should we just talk about the clowns now?
Let's just talk about the clowns.
Let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Growler...
Okay, he is creepy. He is very creepy.
He was creepy. Okay, I have to tell you.
I find it really funny that that's a manifestation of their dad's trauma.
Yeah, that was like, I was like, oh man.
And like, when they go to the graveyard, okay, I lied. That is a little bit grittier.
The graveyard part, oh my gosh, like the clown graveyard, I gotta tell you, I was listening to this book last night, and at like midnight, I got to the clown graveyard part, and I was like, for the first time during this book, I was like, "Oh, this is
yeah."
This is creepy.
I take back a little bit. I had forgotten about this part, so I'll take back a little bit what I said about it being more innocent. That was kind of creepy.
Like literally, they're getting like Pigeon and Trevor are getting chased by like dead clowns, and then they have to go to this mausoleum. And then there's like the ventriloquist dummies too, and I was like, okay, this is getting uncomfortable for me. I felt
so bad for Trevor though.
I know.
Like this poor boy.
This poor kid is like traumatized.
Like he had literally like wet his pants just like during the normal like kind of stuff, like during the parade. Like I was surprised. I was like, dang kid, you that weak? Man. Like I mean, I felt bad, but at the same time, I was like.
Okay, but he's also like 12. Like
yeah, and he also has seen some things.
Yeah, so I was like, oh man, Brandon Mull is like putting his hand into, like, a little bit of a horror movie.
Yeah.
I literally, like, wrote down, like, is this, like, a horror movie scene right now? Like, I was getting creeped out, but I'm kind of a wimp with that, so.
I didn't mind it as much, but I think I was surprised with the rest of the book being so much more, like, kind of light.
Yeah. Maybe it's because I was listening to it, and it was, like, late at night.
Yeah. But, yeah, the clowns, they were, I enjoyed them. They were definitely funny, and, like, the confrontation with Growler himself was weird.
Yeah. That was an interesting twist. I didn't expect them to, like... I mean, like,
lose?
It makes sense. No, to, like, put them to sleep.
Oh, okay.
That was a good, like... I was like... In hindsight, I was thinking, like, man, why didn't you expect that? Like...
Why haven't they been using that, like, the
entire time? It was kind of a smart thing to do, to put you all to sleep. Though they didn't know that was their downfall. But... What did you think about the, like... The whole, like, dream sequences? Like, with, like... dreams coming into reality, and then was her name Sandra, like the dream walker lady. Yeah. What did you think of that, like, use of, like, how they, like, defeat them with, like, their dreams? Did you like that twist, like that end?
I found it interesting, like, how they used, like honestly, what it gave me Five Kingdom vibes.
Yeah, the whole Dreamland thing, I was like, is this connecting to Five Kingdoms
honestly
somehow?
Like, I felt like the
wait. Do you think the dream things, like how they go into, like, the world, do you think that they would end up on a sky castle?
That would have been so freaking cool.
That would be awesome.
I would have been so freaking happy if that had happened.
So wait, should we go back and read the things that they say come from the dreams and see if they come on a sky castle? What if that was an Easter egg? That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. It wouldn't be the only Easter egg in here.
Let's not get to that yet. But.
We'll get to that. But it would have been so cool because, like, that's literally what they say with the sky castles is it's unrealized dreams.
Yeah, it's like dreams coming through.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Five Kingdoms,
it's like the opposite of what happens.
Yeah.
In this book, it's people dreaming gets pulled into the real world, whereas in Five Kingdoms, real people dreaming get pulled into this imaginary world.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, Brandon, you genius! Brandon, you son of a gun!
If you wanted to, like, connect Five Kingdoms, like, this is the time, dude.
Yeah, like oh my god, yeah, like, and, like, just, like, the times where they're like, oh, you can, like, do whatever you want with all this stuff, like, Nate's over here making tanks.
I was just like, is this shaping right now?
Like, this is basically shaping. That's literally what it is.
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
And, Sandra was giving me, who, like, Grand Shaper of, Necronum vibes.
Oh.
The chick who was just, like, popping in and out, like, doing everything.
Her aunt.
Yeah, her.
What is her name?
It starts with a P. I want to say it starts with a P. Prescia?
How did you pull that out of your brain? That is her name.
No. I am so proud of myself right now.
Whoa.
Prescia, that's her name.
That is her name. Sure. Okay, wait. How did you pull that name out of your brain? That was impressive.
I haven't read those books in
over
a year.
I read those like 3 months ago, and I couldn't have done that. Good job.
Okay, everybody, you need to give me some likes and comments for that. I did not look that up, I promise.
That was, I can confirm. She was just sitting here and then boom, Prescia. I don't know how that happened.
All right, continuing on.
So wait, why did she remind you of Prescia?
Just the way, like, she's, like, constantly popping in and out. Like, she may not be, like she's powerful. She may not have, like, the raw power and, like, the raw ability of the kids, but she's, like, guiding it.
I think I see what you mean. Because at the end, she's, like, speaking to Nate.
Yeah.
To Nate and, like, guiding him, and then
that's exactly what Prescia does with Cole. She's like saying,
I see.
You're free, do this, and this, like, she's like the guiding light.
I see that.
Like, yeah. That's kind of what.
And like then like the final showdown. So yeah, I liked how he, like, used dreams to, like, save it. I thought that was interesting, and I was just like, oh, this makes me think of Five Kingdoms. Like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was good.
I think I've said it before. Five Kingdoms is my favorite series of all of them. That may also be because of the whole nostalgia is the best flavor kind of thing. But it's my favorite. I know you have Beyonders very close to your heart.
I like Five Kingdoms too. Like,
yes. But I just love Five Kingdoms. It's just my favorite.
I do love Five Kingdoms as well.
No, but yeah, so, like, that made the end of this, like, very fun for me. I was like, yeah, I was going to be able to draw all those little links.
Yeah. I do have to say, the whole thing of, like, the kids being the only ones to be able to go in at first, I was like, what are they going to do without their candy? Like, Like, I know they're capable, but also, like, they can't even use their magic candy. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
So I'm glad they, first of all, could get candy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, when John and the Battiato brothers, like, show up, I was like, finally!
We got some people who know how to take care of business.
Let's go!
Also, John being able to finally hurt people.
Oh my gosh, that was, like, the best. John can finally, like, he's like,
I can
no
let loose.
restraints. Like, I was like, I kind of,
Like,
John was able to go off, and I was like,
just,
finally.
Yeah. One thing I didn't really get and didn't, like, the whole, like, dream stuff with, like, the head wizard Mozak. And
that whole thing, I was like, you get captured a lot, bro.
That part, I was like, I get why it was there, but I was like, I'm confused.
Yeah, the whole thing, like, in the beginning.
Camel.
Yeah, the whole thing in the beginning with them getting, like,
in the middle, like an explosion,
captured,
like,
and
yeah.
I was like, what is going on here? But
Yeah.
I guess that's the whole dream thing. And then somehow
Didn't
he
he
ends up
as like
he turns himself into an aardvark, yeah. Because he doesn't have his Cubs cap anymore, which is his portable lair.
Yeah. They kind of went away from that whole stuff, like the lair thing.
Yeah. That is one kind of thing that I get kind of confused about.
Yeah.
But then he, like, ends up at the carnival because he was in the dreamscape, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It was weird. I think what it was kind of going for was the fact that it got, like, the carnival got so powerful.
Yeah.
They were able to kind of, like, reach out and influence other, like, powerful magicians to try to kind of take out their...
Yeah.
That's what I kind of got. They were trying to take out
the
competition.
I guess they, like, sent people to Chicago to go capture them because they ended up with the Battiatos, like, sleeping bodies.
Yeah. Magic!
I don't know.
Magic!
Maybe I'm thinking too
It's literally,
deeply about
I think the
It's
explanation is magic, don't question it.
Yeah.
Okay, jumping off a little bit, how did you feel about the villains?
The villains. I liked it because it's not what I was expecting, but it made sense. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, every villain in all of this whole series is one of the whites. And I did think it was going to be Camilla, and then it was like, oh no, it's actually her parents. But I was like...
I think they were leaning in, like, I was expecting it to be Camilla at the beginning of the book, but at the same time, they had leaned kind of into it so hard at the, because, like, with the second book, from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't read it in a while. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, you don't know that Jonas is a white until, like, towards the end of the book, correct? I feel like they don't really clue you in on that until later.
I think so.
But with Camilla, she was, like, shown to be a white and a problem at the very beginning.
Yeah.
That, in and of itself, kind of turned me, like, oh, wait, no, hang on, there's something more happening here. That, like, and, like, the way she was acting with Pigeon, like, just certain things, like, were just, like, hang on, we're missing something. And so when I found out that she is also imprisoned in the dreamscape, and it was her carnival turned against her by her parents, that I did. Like, I was like, there's, like, I saw the anvil hanging, and then I was waiting for it to drop.
Yeah, you put it together. I did not. I was like, oh, whoa, I didn't expect that. But yeah, I liked that it was, like, the swindler, because I liked that they were, like, at the carnival. Mm-hmm. I thought that was, like, an interesting, you know, twist. And, what did you think of Lindy getting her memories back as Belinda? That was interesting. I was like, I didn't expect that. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a good way to, like, end her character, because without it, I would have been like, I mean, it would have been fine, but I guess I kind of like that she does, because then she's choosing to be good and not just, like...
I felt like she kind of did do that as well, though, at the end of the second book.
She does do it at the second book,
like,
too.
She is convinced that, yes, she used to be Belinda White, and
That's true.
She was this person, and she has the chance to join her brother.
That's true.
But she was she the... What was the order of the Whites? Like, is Camilla the oldest, or is Linda?
Camilla's the youngest.
Is she? Okay.
But then I don't know if it's Jonas or Belinda.
I want to say Belinda's oldest. If it's not, if it's not Camilla,
that would make sense.
I think Belinda is oldest.
Yeah. I guess the thing with Lindy is that I like that she, like, has her memories, but I agree in that it just kind of happened. It was, like, off screen. Zach was like, oh, I went and got her from Stott and then brought her to the carnival. And so
yeah,
that was kind of
I wouldn't have minded
rushed.
not having Linda in this one. She could have gone off to be somewhere else, and I would have been okay. But at the same time, I know why we included her because it is her family, and therefore it makes sense.
I do think one of my critiques of this book is that it feels rushed on this part of like character development, and just is like
more
story
oriented.
Driven.
Yep.
And
I 100% agree.
I think that is maybe one of the things that holds me back from liking it as much, because I feel like especially like the second book, like with like Belinda with Lindy, how she chooses, and I'm glad you reminded me of this, how she like finds out about her past and then distinctly like makes a choice to still trust like her friends and Mr. Stott and everything, and
even though like she's told like they have hurt her.
Yeah. And so her just like not being in it at all, and then all of a sudden she's there.
I feel like this was honestly more
rushed.
It felt more like the first book because
Yeah.
I don't remember much character growth in the first book either.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the first book I think was also very story driven, which was it was a great story.
Yeah.
This is also
fine.
a great
is a good
story.
Yeah.
But like the second I think was very much more character driven for Linda. And so yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Fun facts. We ain't hating, we just observing.
No, just observing. Still like it.
All right. And then kind of deep diving on the dad, the white dad.
Oh, the swindler?
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting, like how like he is the father of like 3 magnificent, like amazing magicians who can do like unimaginable things.
Very powerful.
And like they get imprisoned, like, and they're like these like the parents are just like half-time, has been not great.
Mm-hmm.
They get out of jail and they have to go literally begging to their daughter to like take them in and help them out.
Yeah.
The only daughter that they know will actually help them.
The only daughter that's actually good.
Yeah, who actually has a heart.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to be like my siblings or my parents, which is interesting. I feel like if this were to be made into a TV show or a movie someday, you could really...
Hint, hint.
You know, yeah, hint, please.
We want to see it. And we know you guys do too.
It could be something that they could really delve into her character more with Camilla, of being like, you know, she's kind of the white sheep of the family who...
I'm down for a prequel series on this family.
Yeah, I don't know, episode, I don't know. I don't know how to write TV, but...
But yeah, that would be interesting. Like, really seeing like kind of how they grew up. Like, we get a little snapshot of how Camilla wishes it could have been. Mm-hmm. But I know that's interesting. But yeah, I really like that how like what the dad does. He kind of like he's forcing his problems, his like traumas, on everybody else. Like the fact that Growler is like a clown that scared him, and so he's using it to scare everybody else.
People. Yeah,
he is like constantly like trying to earn money, constantly trying to do these things, and so he's making everybody else do the same thing. He's constantly losing, and so he's constantly stacking the cards on his end so that he always wins. Mm-hmm. Like he is just he has never been able to succeed at everything, and so now that he finally has some place or some way that he can win, he's like, now I get to, like, now I'm going to make everybody else feel just as bad as I did for my entire life, which for a magician is a very long time.
Yeah. And he's the one that's, like, taking the sleepers, having them sign the agreement, and then, like, using their dreams to further his purposes, which is...
Like, I think a trend in all of his books, like, don't let the darkness win, because really that's what you're doing. You're letting it win if you give up and you just let it control you. Like, the demons, the darkness, like, even just, like our fears in general, like the fear of our fear of, like, the dark, fear of clowns, all these kinds of fears, they only have so much power as we give them. Because many of these kinds of fears, they're good, they're healthy. But, like, some people take them to extremes. Like, Trevor, he is, like, paralyzing fear of clowns. And so, like, but he lets that fear control him. He manages to overcome it a bit in this, but, like, I think that's just, like, kind of a thing.
Okay, so there's this quote that I can't find in the book for some reason, but there's this part where John Dart is, like, saying that how he faces his fears is that he imagines the worst possible scenario and, like, comes to terms with it, and then that's how he, like, even if that comes to pass, he'll know he'll be able to deal with it, because I think it's right after... I think it's, like, the day after Nate and Trevor, like, have that little, like,
They're like
conversation with Growler.
Oh.
And like Trevor's like terrified, and he's like, how do I deal with this? And like that's kind of what John like says, like, you know, this is what works for me, and I just kind of, you know, I don't really live in fear anymore because I've kind of got this thing going where I, you know, kind of face them on my own, and then that way if something bad does happen, he can like, you know, he's already like come to terms with it, so he can like act in that situation. Which is interesting.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
Dale on Fear. Like when he was talking to Seth, he was saying, I regret looking out the window because I now know what the worst things out there is.
Oh.
And so for him, imagining the worst thing is a bad thing.
It's a bad thing.
Because he knows that the worst thing out there could mess him up.
Interesting.
But I wonder if like John Dart, he's just like, he's a different kind of character because he's confident in himself. He feels that he is prepared for every eventuality.
Yeah.
For the worst thing that could possibly happen. And he is okay with that. He's like, I could die, I'm okay with that. I will have served my cause and like done the best I could do. I think just as you were talking about that, like the worst thing I could imagine, that's what like rang that bell for me. I was like, huh. And like made me think of our conversation on like what fear does to a person and like whether or not you should look and try and find. You found it. Read the quote.
I found
Megan.
it. Okay.
Read that quote. You learned it.
So we have Trevor being like, I don't know if I could handle like clowns or like being hunted by clowns or whatever. That's what he says. And then like Trevor looked at John. What if it happens in real life? Do your best, John said. For me, it helps to picture the worst case scenario ahead of time. You get scared? Pigeon asked. Not so much for my own life anymore.
Such a child question. Yeah. Such a child question.
I mean, it's John.
True.
Not so much for my own life anymore, John said. I'm content with who I am and how I've chosen to live. I've made peace with my past mistakes. I'm ready to meet my demise if needed, but sometimes I fear failing my missions. I fear what may happen to others. I fear for you kids. What do you mean you picture the worst case scenario? Pigeon asked. I picture the worst outcomes that could happen, John said. I get used to how they might feel, and I decide how I will behave even if the worst results come to pass, even if I fail. If I'm only willing to sacrifice for success, then failure becomes terrifying. Surrendering the need for a guaranteed outcome cuts the tension for me. I accept the darkest possibilities and then work for something better. It's not a method that works for everyone. It's interesting. It doesn't work for Dale.
Doesn't work for Dale. No, but that's interesting. Oh.
Yeah, I thought that was like I marked it and I was like, whoa, that's like good life advice, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like picturing, you know, it's not actually always great to picture the worst outcome, but just being like, what's the worst that could happen, like realistically, and then being like, okay, then how would I deal with that? You know, I think it's interesting.
I really like that. Good.
Yeah.
Because like, and like these kids, like obviously they look up to John. Like, John gives me kind of like less present Warren vibes, and also less funny.
Yes.
He is very much a Warren character. He is somebody who's lived in this world, has seen the worst of it, has come out and is still fighting for the good side. A little bit of charisma in there, and is very protective of the main characters.
Yeah.
He's just not as present, and he is not as involved, I think, in the story.
Yeah, I like John because, like, also he gives some kind of, like, you know, authoritative figure, not just these kids running around.
Needed authority.
But, like, yeah, I like him because he's able to, like, protect the kids, but also, I don't know, like, I think he's, like, a fun character.
He definitely respects them.
Yeah, and he cares about them. Like, he literally just said, like I worry about you guys because, you know, and he can't always
How old are these kids in this story? Are they...
I think they said it's been a year since the first book.
Hang on.
Which also the fact that it's been a year and the 3 books have been out for like 17 years, something like that. Like, it's also kind of crazy to read these back and be like, man.
Like, what grade are they in?
Like 6th?
Is that what they are? Like,
yeah, because they're going to like a middle school, I think. They're like in 6th grade. So they're still only like 12.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so okay, I haven't told you this before, but today actually I was talking to a friend, one of my coworkers, about Fablehaven, and
nice.
actually a lot of Brandon Mull's books. Like, he has read all of them. He is very well versed in these.
Love to hear it.
Josh, my bud, if you're listening to this one's for you. No, but so he was saying, he's like, I love Brandon Mull. I love his books. But like, his stories, fantastic. One thing that he doesn't love is sometimes the kids don't feel like kids.
Yeah.
I took that, I chewed on it a little bit, and I said I have to agree.
I agree.
Like, these kids are supposed to be 12, 13?
Yeah. 12, 13, 12.
I took that and I thought about it and I was like, I can totally, and it's not just Candy Shop War.
Yes.
Like, we were, like, just the fact that we've been talking about in Fablehaven, the fact that Kendra and Seth are 13 and 11, respectively. Sometimes it comes out with Seth. Sometimes you can kind of feel it.
Yeah.
But at the same, like, or, like, with the fact that Cole and his friends are same age, 12, or Jason and Rebecca?
Rachel.
I got the R right.
You got the R, yeah.
Rachel are 13, I believe.
14, I think.
Well, Josh was telling me, he's like, yeah, I'm reading Beyonders right now, and he's like, I'm reading, like, Jason's thoughts, and he's like, I would think these things, and I'm 19. Jason, he said, is 13.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with this, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I feel like, and again, no hate to Brandon Mull or your writing, I do think this is a theme, like you said, throughout all of his books, that I think his characters ought to be, like, 2 years older than they are, and if not necessarily in the first book, but, like, by the end of the series.
They don't age as much.
They don't age as much as they should, I feel like.
As we think we do.
I think that they should be. Like,
and I think that might be partially because we have books like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter, where, like, in between books, they age a year. And so, like, that, like, mental progression feels natural.
I wonder if it's also because he is writing these books as quote-unquote children's books, that he feels that he has to put them at younger ages. But I feel like, especially when these books get turned into into shows and movies, I think when these books get turned into movies and TV shows, I wouldn't be opposed to them aging them up a year or two for any of them, honestly, because especially Candy Shop War, Five Kingdoms, and Beyonders, especially Beyonders. Like, I was reading this thing, and I was just like, I feel like they should be, like, 16. I think 16 would be a good age.
Yeah.
14 just feels too young for me.
Yeah, so hot take, maybe that's why we can still love them so much. Like,
what do you mean?
Because they feel older, like closer to our own ages, like we can, we see ourselves in them, and so when we see these numbers, like they're like, oh, they're 13, but like honestly, if I'm reading this, my brain is like, I'm seeing
like you put yourself on the character.
You put yourself on the character, and they like age up, and the fact that they do talk older, I think is almost a strength for helping it age with the audience.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe they're still supposed to be 12, 13, and they sometimes do have those moments where they act like that. But in between, even a 20-year-old, a 23-year-old can still relate.
Yeah, and I understand that, like, because of the experiences that these kids go through, they're going to act older, you know, like, more experience, you're going to be more mature. With that said, I do think, you know, it would be maybe a little more realistic if they were just, you know, like, I think, like, Five Kingdoms, Cole and them should be, like,
13
15. Or 14 at least.
Maybe freshmen.
Yeah.
Freshman age.
Maybe, like, 14. Beyonders, 16. 13 to 14 is too young. I would say 16.
Dragon Watch, 16,
Dragon Watch.
17.
Yeah, that's one thing with Dragon Watch. I wish he had said, like, a year went by or something.
Just a couple more years, because I feel like Seth needs to be at least 14, 15. Kendra probably 16, 17, maybe 18 even.
Yeah.
Maybe I guess maybe that's probably why they didn't lead into the romance. It's hard, but still.
Yeah. So, yeah, just one thing. I would agree with that for sure. I think they need to be older, because in my mind they're older, and then I'm like, wait, he says that they're like 12, and I'm like,
and I don't think it necessarily causes a problem.
Yeah.
It just like kind of shocks you.
It just feels less believable.
Yeah, when you go back and reread it, you're like, oh, wait, this person was 13 this entire time?
Yeah, there in writing fantasy, there's this thing called suspension of disbelief, where the reader is, like, basically, like, agreeing to, like, believe this fantasy world because of what the author is writing, but then there might be parts where that, like, takes them out of the story, and I feel like having these kids be so young all the time sometimes takes me out of the story and be like, okay, but would they really, like, react that way? Would they really have this, like...
Would have the presence of mind to be able to drop that memory wiper cube into the potion?
Yeah, would they really, like, are they really that clever? Like, I mean, I know kids are clever, but, like, would they be able to, like, handle it this much? Would they be able to do this?
It pushes the suspension of disbelief. I agree.
Yes.
For the most part, though, I am able to keep it, like, I'm able to stay in the story. Like, like for me, like, I remember, I'm surprised whenever somebody reminds me that. I'm like, oh, wow, I forget about that.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I'm able to kind of disbelieve that, honestly. I'm able to suspend my suspension of disbelief that, like, I'm like, I don't really care how old they are. I can kind of project whatever age I want onto them.
It's true.
And so... I think for me, it does not cause as much of a problem. For Josh, maybe it was a little bit more of a problem. Yeah. But I totally understand where he's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really, like, bother me so much anymore, but I do think it would just make more sense if they were a little bit older.
So, hot take.
Yeah. So who's your favorite character out of everybody? Not even just in this book, I guess. Or maybe like, in this book.
Okay, so if you want to pull up a copy of, like, the cover of The Candy Shop War, you know who the main character is.
Well, duh, you know who the main character is. He's in the middle.
I know. I just, like...
It's Nate.
I feel like that's one thing I've always had with these books. Like, all four of the kids, like, they feel like they're all supposed to be main characters. But, like, it's Nate. Everybody knows it's Nate.
You think that they're all supposed to feel like main characters? Is it because they all have, like, perspectives? Like, he writes from their perspective sometimes?
Not even that, I think. Well, maybe it's partially that. I don't know. I just feel like... Like, sometimes I feel like it's, like, split a little bit between, like, being evenly distributed between all of them and then just being, like, fully focused on Nate. Because one thing between the three books, Nate comes through almost every time and saves the day. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Nate is almost always the hero.
Yes. Yeah. Like, it is always Nate.
Yeah, so Trevor, I think, there's a reason he's kind of, like, second prominent in the picture.
In the cover,
yeah. Because he gets, like, that kind of character growth with the clown stuff.
True.
I think he gets the most after that. Summer, it's good.
So she's like, 3.
Yeah, she's
3
like...
out of 4.
She's your classic, like, I can do it, strong girl, independent tomboy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think... I can't remember. Did they lead into any romance with her? Was Nate developing? Or no, Zach was developing.
Okay, after we talk about these 4, we have to talk about Zach.
Yeah. And then poor Pigeon.
Pigeon does not get much in this book.
No, I don't think does he
hardly at all. I think they go in his perspective maybe once or twice, but, like, Pigeon doesn't do too much that I remember.
He's a statue.
He's a statue.
He's a statue.
He's a statue, yeah.
Summer's cool because she gets the clown. She gets to kick butt.
Summer does. And she's also the one who tells Zach about it.
It's true. She does have some very...
She does some stuff.
Yeah, she has questionable decisions, but at least she does stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Trevor has the development, and then Nate is, like, always gets to be the hero.
Nate is always
Pigeon
the hero.
Pigeon is just the...
Do you not like Pigeon?
It's not that I don't like him, it's just he's more of a Dale. To me, he's more of a Dale. And
Okay, let's maybe not be mean about Dale.
To this okay, yes.
On our YouTube channel, one person commented that Dale was their favorite character.
And more power to you.
Yeah, I apologize.
We do not hate Dale. We promise.
I swear I do not hate Dale.
We just find it amusing how he's kind of underused after book 2.
I find it funny that he's a plot device and not a character.
Yeah, he is loyal to a fault. It's just I feel like also in this case, Pigeon is Dale.
Pigeon is Dale.
He gets some clutch moments. He gets to help out.
I think it's true in this book. In the other 2, he's like the smart one.
That's true.
And he like figures out things. And he like knows like his history and stuff. Like he's like the best of them in school, like the best student. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he gets those moments in the first 2 books. And then in this book, like I can't even remember like a moment where he like
did something.
Where he like does that, but yeah.
I don't hate these characters. I promise.
And this just does go back to, I feel like there was just less character development in this book.
And I think I've said this before on this podcast, is like, that is one of the things I value the most in my books, in my stories. I like character development.
Yeah.
That is the area of storytelling that I value very, very highly. Mm-hmm. It's right up there with, like, good story. I want my characters to evolve. Yeah. I feel like we get that a bit from Summer. We get that very well, I think. I think Trevor's comes through pretty well.
Trevor faces his fears.
With Trevor facing his fear.
Yeah.
Nate's
just, I'm going to go save the day no matter what.
He's kind of Mr. Pretty Boy, let's be honest. But Pigeon, like, he doesn't really have... Like, he's the quiet, smart, steady one. Yeah. And I say, good for him. He's a good character. He's just
he
not
doesn't
a
get his moment to
one.
shine in this book. Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, that's my thing. Pigeon is Pigeon.
Pigeon is Pigeon.
Nate is like the Superman. He's always like,
and I will say Nate doesn't have much development.
He doesn't.
Either,
it's just
like,
he gets the fun moments.
Yeah.
And we also get to see like his interaction with the swindler. Thank you. Yeah. Isn't that his? We get to watch his.
The thing with the Dreamstone.
Yeah. Like where. Yeah. Like he gets to say
like,
yes or no. And like he beats him.
Oh, when he goes
does
to sleep.
Him too, huh?
Yeah, when he
he gets
denies...
to say I don't like we get to see his interaction with the swindler saying no, I don't want the contract.
Yes.
And we get to see him finally beat the swindler in a game.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
so we do get to see that, yeah.
That's a little bit like he gets his moments to shine where he gets to develop and like be like, "Oh, I couldn't beat him. No, I could beat him. Yay." It's simple.
True.
But yeah. Summer, she gets to kind of feel that regret for trusting Zach. And, like, I was not expecting them to bring Zach in so early. That was interesting.
Neither did I.
That was very interesting to me.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about...
Okay, we're going to see us.
Let's talk about Zach. Yeah. I didn't mind him, but I also kind of did expect him to, like...
Once they brought him in so early, I think, is when I started
like, he's going to, like... betray them in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of like gloss over it at the end, be like, oh no, he was like misguided, and like, okay, that is something I would expect from a 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
like not making like the right choice, like not seeing the situation for how it is. So that does bring his age down more to what I would expect from a middle schooler. But also the thing that he is like a YouTuber.
He's an influencer.
Yeah, he's an influencer. And I was like, man, yep, we're in the year 2023.
So true. It's kind of funny to see like how like you can kind of see like you can tell that these have been spaced out over 17 years because 2007 like we had like the classic
social media didn't exist.
Yeah. And we had like the classic there's this one group and there's this other group of kids and like they
throw
dirt balls out each other. They have their secret hideouts in like the bushes.
Yeah.
They
That's
have
these
little clubs. Themselves. That was how we entertained ourselves when we were kids.
It's true.
Now kids entertain themselves by watching YouTubers, influencers, they reactions, like, all these things. That's how they entertain themselves. And it's so interesting to see like that difference.
It's true.
And I think I enjoyed how Zach was, like, yes, he is a stereotypical influencer, but he still is given a little bit of interesting stuff. Like, he does have a little bit of development, I think. Because, like, it's revealed that, like, yes, he is a bit of self-centered, which is partially, but, like, at the same time,
It's kind of expected.
Yes. Yeah. But at the same time, he does recognize that these 4 kids don't just like him for his fame.
Yeah, I do
He latches on to these kids, so it's like, they don't care who I am, they don't care what I've done.
Yeah.
They just want to be my friends. And he latches onto that. I appreciate that.
I will say, though, he does still have, like, the influencer thing of being, like, when he asked Benji not to come to, like, that one day of filming, so he was like, oh, I just want to see what kind of personalities you guys have for my channel. But then he doesn't put any of them on his channel.
Yeah, that, I think
is I was kind of like, what?
That, I think, like, also, like, they kind of lean into the fact that you can kind of explain that away being, like, that the dad and the mom kind of do the editing, yeah. Like, that's kind of what I got, like, that he's, like...
Okay, I didn't get that.
I got that, like, the dad's the one who's kind of pulling the strings.
I could see that.
And so I felt like him in the park, he kind of felt like that was his opportunity to make his own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he sees what he thought was his friends, like, he was probably, like, expecting that half the time, because, like, he's so used to people, like, only wanting to be on his channel and only wanting to, like, to be his friend, to be
friends,
on
get clout.
So when he sees, like, these guys are trying to ruin what he has going for him, like, because they probably want to, like, be famous or do something like that, he probably is like, I trusted them, and they're going behind my back and trying to ruin this good thing I've got going. I should have seen this coming. And, like,
it's fair.
Probably, like, I don't know. I'm probably explaining this way too far, but, like, I can see where he's coming from, I think.
In betraying them?
In betraying them, and also in, like,
in
how he acts.
I saw it more as, like, he just got fed the wrong information and believed the wrong people.
He talked to he was reached first.
Yeah. But I could also see how that could be connected to, like, you know, he got a deal with the carnival and they're sponsoring him and paying him, so he's going to believe them probably because he has more
over these kids he's known
of
for
a motive.
1 week,
yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
I think they did a good job not making the YouTuber, like, just, like, the typical stereotypical, self-centered, arrogant, only cares about views. Like, he still does want friends.
That was nice. I was like, don't go too far.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, like, the fact that he brought in on The Secret, I think helped a lot with that as well. Like, just kind of being, like, I think Brandon Mull did a good job avoiding a lot of, like, the tropes.
A trope, yeah.
And the pitfalls that could have come with using this character, and I appreciated that.
I appreciate that, too. Okay, so there's this one very nerdy thing that is included in this book. So I think if you all turn with me to...
Can I preface this? So,
okay.
Last night, I just gotten off work.
Oh.
I wasn't doing much, and I get this text because Megan.
I was finishing it yesterday. Mm-hmm. I was listening to it,
and so I had keep this in mind. I had read this like probably 2 months ago. I read it like the day it came out, and
I was waiting for the Audible to come out.
And so like
So this is Jessica's reaction to me texting her.
I see all caps. I'm freaking out over the reference to Roshar and Sharplay. I just listened to, like, what? 2 T's. 3 T's, I lied.
Okay.
And so I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah. I was freaking out. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, if you go to page 267, this is chapter 25, Lux, when they're in that, like, secret, like, club or whatever that Zach gets them into.
Right before he betrays them.
Right before he betrays them. Yeah, this is, like, 2 pages before he betrays them. There's just, like, all these, like, collectibles around and stuff. And this is what I was freaking out about. It says, this other figure is modeling an approximation of shard plate from Roshar. And that will mean nothing to you unless you have read The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, which is what that is referencing.
Okay. Yes, it's honestly, like...
And I started reading the Stormlight Archive, like, right around the time that the Candy Shop War 3 came out. Like, I started listening to it because I was like, I need to read this.
After me telling her multiple times that she needed to because I have read them, I think...
Okay, but it actually wasn't you that convinced me to
start reading them. I told you to. I love them. I've
So does my brother.
Yes.
He was also like, please read these. Okay, but I have been reading the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson recently, and so I got this reference, and I started, like, freaking out, because I was literally, like, sitting at work listening, and then I hear Shardplate from Roshar, and I wish you could, like, have watched me listen to this, because I literally, like, froze, and I was like, what did you just say? And I, like, went back, and I was like, did you just say Shardplate from Roshar? Like, what is going on here? I started, like, freaking out. And I, like, listened to it again, and I was like, oh, my gosh. And I, like, immediately texted Jessica, and I was like, did you see this reference? Like, what is going on?
I did almost
And then it took you, like, 20 minutes to reply to me, and I was like...
I was at work!
And I was like freaking out. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I said something that I think is really funny. I was like, is this the Brandon literary universe? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I did. I'm pretty sure I did the exact same thing 2 months ago, but you hadn't listened or read it yet, so I couldn't say anything.
Well, I also hadn't read the Stormlight Archive yet, so.
That's true. But, like, yeah, so, yeah, Stormlight Archive is so good. Love it. Highly recommend to anybody.
This is also just, like, a fun little reference to just, like, anyone who's
it's out of nowhere.
Okay. Also, the sentence before, because I was looking at this and I was like, wait, what is that referencing then? I looked it up.
Arrakis?
Arrakis. I Googled Arrakis. It's referencing Dune.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes, it's referencing Dune.
Oh, that... Brandon Mull,
He's just referencing all of these like fantasy series.
Yeah. Like before that, it already has some like fun stuff where it's like it's got
Star Wars,
a C-3PO, a narwhal horn, Harley Davidson motorcycle, and it talks about also like it has all of the other candies from the other books.
Yeah.
And I really like that they kind of bring those back.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's got like the shock bits, moon rocks, all of those kinds of things. Like, and I love that they call it the Belinda White collection and the Jonas White collection.
Yeah, it's like
love that.
Like it's like a pawn shop.
It really is. It's like, oh, these are all like or like a museum.
Collection,
it's like a museum.
Yeah, but you can like buy it.
Yeah.
If you have like 100,000 tickets or something.
Yeah, and I love how they like really like. I don't remember but I remember now like thinking like. Yeah, that's about how much it would cost in Roshan. like those
a
things.
Whole kingdom.
Like literally, like traded kingdoms for one shard. Like,
sorry if you have not read the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. You should go read it. It's really good. It's also very long, but it's worth it.
I have cried. I have cried tears of joy and like heartbreak over that series.
Yeah,
I cannot wait till the 5th book comes out.
It'll be good.
It'll be so good. I can't wait till you read the 4th book.
I haven't read the 4th book yet, but man, it's awesome.
It's so good.
But yeah, I was just like freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was looking, I went and I was like, have other people talked about this? Has anyone like noticed this? Am I the only one that's like noticed this yet? And so like I literally like went on Reddit and I was looking at like Brandon Mull related subreddits and no one had mentioned it, and I was like, has no one like read this book and Stormlight Archive and like has noticed this? Am I the only one nerding out here?
I'm nerding out right with it.
I was like freaking out, and so
I'm just over here like smiling and just like, yeah, I knew you.
Brandon, thank you.
Brandon,
I appreciate that. Yes, both Brandon Sanderson and Brandon Mull. Thank you.
I could picture, like, we were kind of chatting about this before, and, like, I could just picture them, like, out, like, chatting, and, like, Brandon Mull just kind of going up, like, just, like, kind of, like, shoulders hunched up, like, looking, like, I don't even know, like, height-wise, but, like, just, like, him kind of looking up to Brandon Sanderson, because, like, Brandon Sanderson, if you do not know, he is a legend.
He's, like, a fantasy book giant.
He is a Tolkien. He is a Tolkien at this point.
He is super
his
successful.
His books are super intricate, so like
they're super successful.
Yes.
Not that Brandon Mull isn't successful, but I feel like way more people know Brandon Sanderson.
Yes,
no offense.
I think it's also because of like the audiences that they usually target themselves for.
Yeah,
Brandon Sanderson is very much targeted for young adult, and Brandon Mull is targeted more young.
Yeah,
like,
it is connected with their audience for sure. Yeah,
and so I can just kind of imagine like Brandon Mull going up like, hey, Brandon, I've got an idea. Would you mind if I, like, snuck a little reference to your books into mine? Like, just give some fun for, like, the parents.
I think it's more, like, excited to be like, hey, can I reference your book?
I get a more shy tone. Like, I can just, like, imagine, like, these two, like, southern or
they're definitely friends.
Yeah, they're probably definitely buddies. They live in the same area.
They're both named... Okay, this is kind of funny. This made me think of... And I'm sorry if you don't know who Brandon Sanderson is. You should. But this is a kind of funny comparison. They're both fantasy writers named Brandon who both live in Utah and both went to BYU and, like, are, like, famous fantasy writers. Mm-hmm. And they definitely know each other. If you go on YouTube and you look up Brandon Mull and Brandon Sanderson and you just look that up on YouTube, there's, like, a couple, like, things, like, videos that they made together, like, interviews or, like...
Didn't they do, like, a panel together at FanX last year?
Yeah, I think they did do a panel together.
Didn't get into it, sad.
I went and, like, looked it up, and, like, Brandon Sanderson has had Brandon Mull on his, like, podcast or something, or like, his YouTube channel or whatever. So, they're great. Like, they're friends. And so I love this idea of, like, him referencing his, like... the other Brandon's works, and I'm like, man, am I gonna have to like look for Brandon Mull references now? Like, so yeah, that was kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't know who Brandon Sanderson is, now
Learn.
you do. Go read all of the Cosmere. It's very good.
Yeah, I still need to read Mistborn.
You need to read all of the Cosmere.
I'm working on it.
We're going to talk about this after we record it. How would you rank the trilogy? How would you rank this in the trilogy?
This is probably not going to be a fair ranking, considering I have not read the second book in so long.
Okay.
And I've only read it, I believe, all the way through once, maybe twice. 1, 3, 2.
Interesting.
2 being very, very close to 3.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd have to reread 2 before I could cement that ranking.
Okay.
I know I like number 1 the best. The second and third, though, I think right now, maybe because it's fresher on my mind, I can push it ahead. But no, I'm going to put the second book second.
Okay.
Because if I'm looking back, if I'm being dead honest right now, I am having difficulty picturing some of the things I've read in this book. I think I can remember. I think the second one for me was a little bit more memorable.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I think the first book is my favorite. First Candy Shop War, and then the second one, and then this one.
Okay.
I agree. I'm not saying that it's bad, but I think maybe it's just because I haven't had as much time to like think about it, but also for some of the same reasons that I have said earlier. Like I just
slightly younger audience,
a little less character development, and just things like that.
Yeah. And where would you put the series in all of Brandon? Because like now that I believe he does not have any works in progress, all of his series that he has started are now complete.
Where would I rank Candy Shop War in series?
All of the series, yes.
Probably my least favorite.
Which, to be fair, is the least of the best. It's the least of the best.
Of my favorite author, the least is Candy Shop War. Again, I do have nostalgia for like the first one. I do like the first one a lot. Younger audience, and it just doesn't go as deep as the other books.
Yeah.
So
I cannot put it for sure because I need to reread Beyonders. Because I have not read it in several years, and I did not read it
Beyonders better not be below.
It may cost us our friendship if it is. No, I need to reread it because I can't.
You might have to take a hiatus from this if you...
Kicks me out of the podcast.
We have to take a break if Jessica doesn't like Beyonders.
Go talk to Josh instead. He'll
Josh will be the special guest star until Jessica learns to like Beyonders.
You'd love that.
In this fake scenario of the future.
Yeah. No, but yeah. So, I'm 90% sure Beyonders will land above Candy Shop, but I need to reread it. I already have it. I have it on hold. I am ready to get it. I will be rereading it as soon as possible. I'm just saying I cannot say for sure until I reread them.
Okay.
And I'm going to say this right now. Beyonders does have a slight disadvantage because it does not have that nostalgia flavor. Because I did not read it until college.
Beyonders doesn't need a nostalgia.
We shall see.
Also, soon we're gonna maybe be posting a YouTube video of we're each gonna make an individual tier list of all of Brandon Mull's books, and then we'll come together and make a combined tier list and discuss where we think each of the books lands. So when we went to the book signing for Candy Shop War, Brandon Mull had a little bit of like a short like Q&A before the signing started. And Jessica raised her hand and asked the following question.
I was so stinking happy when he called on me. I was so proud. And I was like, because he had referenced like that he's working on something right now, a new series. And he had given us some details. But when he finally called me, I was like, you got to give us more. I was like, what else can you tell us? And he said, okay, he honestly, I think he probably might have gotten in trouble with his publisher for this because I don't think he was supposed to say anything besides like the bare hints that he said. But
sorry if we're not supposed to be saying this. It's bare. It's what I remember actually. Yeah. I don't know how much I actually remember.
So it was called, if I'm not mistaken, the Forbidden Mountain.
Yes.
The Forbidden Mountain.
I think it was called the Forbidden Mountain.
And he was saying it's got he said it's his first series that he has not grounded in reality at all.
Yeah, because so it has no connection to Earth.
It has no connection to Earth.
Which is exciting.
Which is very interesting.
I'm interested.
I almost want it to have a little bit of connection, like have it be another dimension of like like that maybe Five Kingdoms could feed into.
Well,
because
this is all so theoretical because we know basically nothing about this series.
Yes.
But I like the fact that he's at least for now. This is very early development, and this is very bare minimum details. But I kind of like the idea that it's not be connected to Earth because it doesn't have to be connected to Earth to be connected to Beyonders or Five Kingdoms.
Exactly.
So.
But so like it's not going to be kids from Earth getting trapped in a foreign realm.
It's like his first like high fantasy series, basically.
Which I think is going to be interesting.
Also, I think it'll be a higher level. It probably won't be as kid.
It's not Candy Shop War.
It's not Candy Shop War level.
It's more Beyonders, Five Kingdoms.
Yes.
I'm ready for that too.
And the other thing I remember is that, like, the people who are at the Forbidden Mountain are, like, the ones who can do magic, I think is what he said.
There is definitely a magic system. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Man, we don't remember anything.
I should have written this down.
I should have written it down, but...
I think it was, like, it's focusing on, like, characters who are trying to escape to the Forbidden.
I think so.
Like, it was, like, some kind of, like, empirical regime.
Yeah, there's, like, an empire or something.
I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I'm liking that.
Yeah.
And, like, they're trying to escape and get to the Forbidden Mountain, which is, I believe, like, the only free spot left. I want to say it was something like that.
I almost think it was, like, the Forbidden Mountain people, like, do things for the Empire people.
I thought the Forbidden Mountain was the refuge.
Maybe. I don't know. Well,
anyways, we're sticking aside for it.
That is... I hope we're not, like, lying to you from our bad memories.
Take all of this with a grain of salt.
But just rest assured, he is working on a brand new series.
Yeah. Which I think I hope it's a 5-book. I'm
excited.
I hope it's not a trilogy.
That's the one thing. I don't want any more trilogies if it's going to be, like, an epic one. Like, Beyonder should have had more books. I'll just say that. Second of all...
She still wants more.
There will be a second series. Anyway, we don't have to talk about this right now. We've talked about Beyonders a lot in this Candy Shop War review. Yeah. Okay. Anything else with the Candy Shop War that you want to talk about? Because we're drifting a little too much.
It was a nice bookend.
It's a good end to the trilogy.
It's nice to have it ended.
Yeah.
And I think that Brandon also, like... He feels good to kind of, like, have this ended.
Yeah, it's like another...
You can kind of tell he was, like, nice. Like,
he's like, I don't have to have people asking me for another one.
Fun fact, there's there's twin siblings now of the Whites.
They had children.
No, but yeah, I think it's nice to have this kind of close because, after reading the second one, it did feel like it needed something more, so now we've got it.
Yep, it's a good trilogy. Yeah, now... Every single one of his series is done.
He sounded so free.
Yeah, it's probably Q&A, nice, honestly.
He was like, like a weight off my shoulders. I don't have any unfinished projects.
He doesn't have anything hanging over his head.
Like, all he has is this new series that
he can do whatever he wants.
And he's just like, I'm free.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today on this episode. I hope you enjoyed our review of Candy Shop War and our discussion of other books in the Brandon Mull universe and possible Brandon literary universe. It's not going to go
The Brandon
anywhere.
literary universe will be the title of this episode.
I don't think they'll go anywhere. It's just a reference, but it was fun.
It was fun, and it was great.
But
I died of laughter when you said that.
But anyway, thanks for listening, and let us know if you have any comments. Let us know what you thought of the book. Did you like it? Is it your favorite in the trilogy? Did you not like it? Why? What are your thoughts? Tell us in the comment section of our YouTube channel, or you can email us at knightsofthedawnpodcast@gmail.com.
And thank you so much to all the people who have already sent us an email.
Yes.
It really lights our day. Like, it makes our day when we see those things. Like, oh my gosh, people felt...
Someone actually listened to this.
It felt like they liked it enough to feel like they wanted to interact.
Yeah.
Like, people talking last week about, like, what they think Mendigo looks like.
Yeah, also, thanks for your comments on...
So cool.
In the YouTube. That's
so
fun.
Cool to see those.
Yeah. We read every one of them, and we love them. We love it. So, yes. So,
Feed us. It makes us more motivated to do these things.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. You can always find us on our YouTube channel, Knights of the Dawn Podcast. Or you can find us basically anywhere you find your podcasts. So
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that jazz.
Everywhere. So, Until next time, I'm Megan.
I'm Jessica.
Thanks for listening.
Drink the milk.
See ya.